Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Hardwood Nation podcast with your boy C.O. Anthony and my main man, Bryce Ward. Bryce, what is up?
Not much, buddy. Glad to be here. Glad to see you alive.
Yeah, we'll get into that later.
Mm-hmm.
glad to see me not retire, right?
Mm-hmm. After that Boston shot after Game 6, you were worried.
So that was rough. That was a rough night. That was a rough night. I've only had one other rougher night, and that was the night that I found out Dwayne Wade was leaving Miami to go play for Chicago. That was rough.
Mm-hmm.
So we got some shit to get into as always. The Denver Nuggets. I want to give them some love for reaching their first NBA Finals. I want to give them some love for having 11 days off before tomorrow night, which is game 1. So they have been chilling. But are we surprised that Denver got here? Absolutely not. They've been one of the most consistent teams this season. And even throughout injuries for the last 2 years, we've always said, hey, if they could just come together and not get hurt, Denver would cause some problems. So now here we are with the Denver Nuggets in their first ever NBA Finals. So we definitely wanted to give them some love. Jamal Murray was playing great this playoffs. Jokic always plays great. And they have great contributors with my boy, Michael Porter Jr. and my old boy, Aaron Gordon, And kudos to Jeff Green. Uncle Jeff is still around coming off the bench for the Denver Nuggets. And I don't know how many people actually realize that Jeff Green, at the end of his career, is knocking on the door of an NBA championship, okay? Because he's never won one before.
Good for him. He's been around so long.
One of the original baby Oklahoma City Thunder. Crazy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Crazy that Jeff's still around. Not to brag, but I've been pretty spot on outside of one series this playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
How surprised are you that the Miami Heat was able to get through Boston?
I was a lot less surprised, I think, than all the other pundits on national media who pretty much bet against them. They weren't giving them a chance at all, almost.
Right.
I wasn't in that camp. I believe I picked Boston to win the series, but still, it wasn't like I thought they were gonna get blown out or anything like that. Boston didn't look as strong in these playoffs as they had in previous years, and no, we've talked about that a number of times. So, only a little surprised that Miami just has a different mindset. They had Jimmy Butler. I was surprised that still with both teams having some injuries and dealing with some things here and there, I felt like the Heat had some pretty rough injuries. Losing Hero, even losing Butler a little bit near the beginning of the playoffs. I just felt like it, especially with the season you guys had, just felt like it was going to be really hard for you guys to get here. But, you were able to pull it off, take advantage of your playoff matchups, and now you're here. So kudos to the Heat for pulling off what most pundits didn't think they could do against the Celtics. So,
yeah, I'm gonna get into some cliche, some metaphor, some high level shit now. I don't give a fuck who likes it or not, to be honest with you. There's a lot of cliches in sports. A lot of people talk about leadership. A lot of people talk about history, shipment, rig, stuff like that. You text me the other day when I texted you first, and I said, I showed you the referee lineup, and you said, well, how do you think the series was ref? Because I haven't heard you talk about it. Mm-hmm. And I said that's because I didn't want any excuses this year, because last year was so gross, but this year I'm just like, whatever happens, they have to get through it. Whatever happens, right? And the refereeing this year in that particular series was not as gross as it was last year. But I have a clip because here's the setup, right? As gross as it was last year, and I considered retiring, and I mean that. We were one shot away from going to the NBA Finals. After that game, Jimmy Butler said something, and I'm going to play it right now because that's going to lead us into what happened the other night. This clip was exactly 1 year ago from what 2 days ago when the Heat defeated the Celtics. This was after Jimmy missed a shot and the Celtics won Game 7 in Miami to go to their finals against Golden State last year. Get this queued up.
Mm-hmm.
There you
go. So we had enough. Next year, we will have enough, and we're going to be right back in the same situation, and we're going to get it done.
Just a brief little clip from Jimmy Butler last year after that hard feat in Miami. For the duration of the next season, which was this current season, I never heard anyone talk about Celtics. No one said anything about Celtics. No one said anything about the loss last year until the Heat went up 3-0 on the Celtics and Eric Spoelstra said, this has been on our mind all year long. I knew then, I said, okay, should the Heat have wrapped the Celtics up earlier than 7 games? Yes. But I knew then, I'm like, they're not going to lose to Boston. They're just not. This Boston is what fueled them low-key all season. My question for you is this. When Boston went down 3-0, were you shocked that they were able to come back and tie the series?
I was very shocked.
Ooh.
I didn't think Boston was getting another game at all. I didn't think Boston was going to win a single game after the way their body language in Game 3 looked, because it looked like they were defeated, and it looked like they had given up. So I will say I was very surprised based on what we were hearing from behind the scenes about maybe the team not responding to the coach and some locker room issues based on that. So I thought with the way they looked on the court Game 3, plus what we were hearing, I thought that was too much to overcome. Their talent alone, I feel like, was able to will them back through a few of those games. More than I thought. I really thought they were just going to get swept after that. It was just the way they looked in Game 3.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting them to look like that in Game 3. You can lose and still, you know, have some what looked like self-confidence, and that just didn't seem like it was there. So I was shocked that they did come back and make it, you know, take it to Game 7.
Right. Game 6, of course, and I'm not going to go too deep into it, but Game 6, of course, was the game that the Miami Heat had to win. And they were down in the fourth quarter, which we're down all the time in the fourth quarter. We're just used to that. And we came back, and off the back of Jimmy Butler, we came back. So, you know, the stage was set. We took a 1-point lead, and with 0.3 seconds left after Marcus Smart missed a 3, Derek White had that unbelievable, incredible putback to beat the Miami Heat. So, to me, that game was over. The Celtics lost in 6. Game was over. Until that moment. Boston kept saying, we'll just get one game at a time. You know, you don't want us to get the next game. You don't want us to get the next game. Oh, now we're going back to Boston. The Celtics were talking a lot of shit, right? I mean, pumping themselves up, and that's fine. After Game 6 in the locker room, now this apparently Eric Spoelstra got the team together and was like, I want to play them right now. Like, I want Game 7 to happen right now. And apparently that fired up the team. I wasn't worried about Game 7 only because of this clip that I showed you. The ultimate revenge for the Heat from the prior year was to go into Boston and win Game 7. Now, I am shocked that the Heat led the duration of that game and pretty much blew the Celtics out in game. That's the shocking part. Us winning isn't shocking. Us leading the duration of the game, that was shocking. Yes, Tatum hurt his little ankle. I get that. That's cute. It is. It is. How shocked were you with Game 7 that it looked like the Celtics just didn't have it when this was their moment to make history in the NBA, to be the first team in basketball to come back from an 0-3 deficit, and you have that game at home? How shocked were you that the Celtics seemingly laid down?
I just don't think the game went how they thought it went or was going to go. And then, unfortunately, they got in a bad habit of dunking up threes.
Mm-hmm.
And it's almost like they just never even got in the right rhythm of how they should have been playing that game. Even some of the best teams, when they're not playing the right way to get open threes, it's hard to force the three ball, if you get what I'm saying. Even when you have great shooters, it's hard to play that way and expect to come back or win. It's just very difficult, and you see a lot of teams do it when they get down in games. It's part of, I think, where teams go when they get tight or feel pressure. And unfortunately for Boston, this whole game was pressure.
Mm-hmm.
I heard, I can't remember who it was, a pundit the other day say, Boston had 2 All-NBA players. They had Defensive Player of the Year. They had Sixth Man of the Year. And still, it just didn't seem right. It just seemed like the team chemistry wasn't there. I'm trying to think. There was a pundit for Boston earlier in the season that clowned them for when Orlando beat them, right? Mm-hmm. Beat them 2 times in Boston at that point. And the reason this stands out to me is because their commentators said you can't, and it was a knock on the Magic, and in like the way the Magic took it was very personally, but still from a Boston standpoint it made sense. So he said you can't lose to a team like the Magic in like a rebuilding phase and really expect to be some championship caliber team. We talked the other day, or maybe last time on the podcast, about I mentioned how despite a rocky regular season, the Heat were really built for all of these tight games. That they played their whole season that way, whether they wanted it to be that way or not, which I think they did. Mm-hmm. I just don't think they would have done it with the injuries they had. But either way, this was basically how the Heat wanted to play. And while all these other teams get tight in tough situations, or when they actually get some pushback, the Heat are just used to it. And everything I saw from Boston, from Atlanta to Philly to the Heat to just some regular season games, it seems like when Boston really got pressured, they couldn't recover like they could in previous years. Like they just got tight, and it seemed like they just started chunking threes. Mm-hmm. And so that equals up to usually a bad game. That's what I'll end it with.
The X's and O's standpoint behind it, and Joe Mazzulla got crushed in this series, but he had no choice. I mean, Eric Spoelstra is the best coach in the NBA right now, and has been that for years. But sometimes simple is good. So Robert Williams for the Celtics isn't really an offensive threat. He can't create his own shot. Al Horford is an offensive threat from the perimeter, but on the inside, he can't do much damage. The best way to beat a zone is if you have not even a great, but if you have a decent big man, you can kind of bust the zone open. Boston didn't have that. They haven't had it in a long time. So the Heat just employed a fucking simple zone, which baited the Celtics into shooting all these goddamn threes. It's simple. It's so fucking simple. Now, can the Heat play zone against Denver a lot? Absolutely not, because Jokic would be able to destroy that zone. But something so simple as a zone defense threw off the Celtics. And like some of the pundits said, this isn't the first time Miami has played Boston. We played them 3 of the last 4 years in the conference finals. Boston should know that zone is coming. And then when they see it, they're just like, oh, well, let's just shoot over the top of it. Well, how's that working out for you? Because 2 of the 3 times Miami has won. So kudos to the Heat for moving on to the NBA Finals. I think this is Eric Spoelstra's 6th NBA Finals as head coach, so kudos to him. Fuck you, PJ Tucker. I still love you, though. Caleb Martin. And no disrespect to Jimmy Butler. You know I never say anything bad about Jimmy Butler. Caleb Martin is the MVP of the conference finals, even though Jimmy got the trophy. Stepping up the way he did to kind of fill that role for Tyler Hero being out. But Caleb is more of a two-way player, a three and D guy, which Hero is not. He was the unsung hero in this series to propel us against Boston because the kid didn't miss. And even when Boston would make many runs, Caleb would hit a big shot to kind of sit them down. So kudos to Caleb. And a lot of people were saying, oh, he's just earned him a big contract. Well, he got his contract last offseason. But what he did earn, maybe, is Tyler Hero's spot. We'll get into that in the offseason. We'll get into that. So, Denver and Miami. Denver has home court. NBA Finals begin tomorrow night. Let's get into the predictions. I'm going to start with you. Who wins this series?
Denver. I think Miami could get 2 games, maybe.
Mm.
Maybe.
That's it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not a Heat fan, so I'm not really believing that they can beat Denver. I know. Listen, I know where you got to come from with this. Okay, I get it. All right, I really do. And you've been right. You've been right all playoffs. I don't care. I know you're gonna pick the Heat, which you have to. All right, but this is what I'm saying. You've been right pretty much all off season, or pretty much all postseason. I don't think you're gonna get this one, bro.
This year has proved, because last year was so horrible. This year has proved that I know basketball. No, I'm gonna say it from a pundit standpoint, and I'm gonna say it from a Heat fan standpoint. From a pundit standpoint, this is actually gonna be a great matchup. It really is. I'm not caught up in names. I'm not caught up in records. Just from a pure basketball standpoint, the players match up really, really well. Now they have, no disrespect to Jimmy Butler, they have a transcendent player on their team with Jokic. Okay, they do. Skill set, fundamentals, basketball knowledge. He has that. But Jimmy has one thing that Jokic doesn't have, and that's a killer instinct. Jokic hasn't been here before. Jokic hasn't felt the pain in the NBA Finals. He's felt it in the conference finals. Jimmy has felt that pain in the NBA Finals. And Jimmy said, if I ever get back to the NBA Finals, I'm not going to lose. That means a lot because the team buys into leadership like that. Jimmy Butler is an asshole. He's one of the biggest assholes in the league. But when you're an asshole and you believe in your guys will run through walls for you. Okay? And that's what the Heat have been doing this playoff series. Playoff season, rather. Now, from a Heat fan perspective, look at the time. The Bucks were supposed to beat us. Everyone said the Bucks were supposed to beat us. I said, no, we own the Bucks. We can whoop their ass. Everyone said, oh, the Knicks are going to beat them. I said, no, fuck New York. Get the fuck out of here, New York. Fuck them. Respectfully. Because they still gave us the toughest series, even over Boston. Boston was supposed to beat us because they're so fucking talented, right? They're just so talented. And Jason Tatum is the golden boy, right? That's all we heard, okay? And we shitted on them too. Here's the formula. In every one of those series, Miami has stole a home game in the first 2 games. And it was actually game 1 in all 3 of those series that Miami fucking stole, which would give Miami home court. So people are saying, hey, this is the second team, the second 8th seed that's going to the NBA Finals. The Knicks did it in 99, and it was a lockout season. They played 50 games. There was a 6-game difference between the 1 seed and the 8th seed. I'm throwing that out the door. This is the first time in the history of the NBA that a legit 8 seed with a full season has gone to the fucking NBA Finals. Okay, so yeah, I'm going to give my team some credit for that. If Denver fucks around and let Miami win one of those 2 games at home, Miami's going to win this series because that's all the motivation that they're going to need because they've done it before. I wish we would have had 11 days of rest like Denver did. I wish they could have went on ahead and swept the Celtics. But I'm going to say this. Denver might come out a step slower because they've had so many games off. Miami was in Denver. What was that game? What, Monday night? Miami was in Denver Monday night. They didn't even go to fucking Miami. They're like, we're going from Boston to fucking Denver, okay? Denver has not been pushed. They haven't. This playoffs year, they haven't been pushed. Miami's been pushed every fucking series. So I think the mental edge may go to Miami. Denver has the best player right now in the series. But from a heart standpoint, from a determination standpoint, from a leadership standpoint, I got Miami in 6. That's just where I'm at. Because I'm not. Growing up, I was a Charles Barkley fan, and Charles said when he lost, if I ever got back to the finals, I'm not going to lose. And Charles never got back. I heard Jimmy say the same thing, and Jimmy got back. And I believe in Jimmy Butler. And this will be, if he pulls this off, this will be the greatest championship in the history of the Miami Heat. Period. And I'm not even going to argue about it. I'm not talking about with you. I'm talking about with other Heat fans, the LeBron fanboys. I'm not even going to argue with them about it. If Jimmy Butler wins this championship this year, it's a wrap.
I think you could say is probably the most difficult one for the Heat to have gotten. I don't know in terms of like if that's how you determine the greatest. It's like in terms of like how you got here and all those things. I guess that's part of it. So I get what you're saying there. Like, but I know Jokic hasn't gotten to the finals like this, but they've had some heartbreak over the years, and they've had some long series, and they've had times where they had to come back from games down, and the series was long. I remember there was 2 different series in the same year where I think we had pretty much counted Denver out.
They came back. And
they came back to win. Now, I know that's not the finals. I know that. All of the pressure at each level is different. I just don't see, and I would say maybe I give the mental edge to Miami. But I don't think Denver is operating nearly on the same level as those Eastern Conference teams that you guys had to play. The poise and the confidence that Denver's played with all season and continued to have in these playoffs, I think it's kind of like a next level too. That's part of the reason why they're here. That I don't believe that they think that they're going to get beat. And so even though they haven't been here, I like the confidence that they're playing with. Like when you watched Boston, you could see the uncertainty.
Right.
When you watched Milwaukee, you could see them get shaky. I just haven't seen that out of Denver. They've looked so clean. They've looked so confident. Jokic has looked like the best player in the league, honestly. And so that's where, even though I think if they had something going against them, some injuries, or maybe they looked like they got exposed in some games, I could give I'd be more willing to go with the Heat, or at least give them more games. I just feel like they're a little beat up. They're tired. For all the things that got them here, I feel like it can only go so far. And so I'm not bashing the Heat by any means. I just think Denver's, despite not being here yet, I feel like Denver's got all the tools to take the series. But either way, it's going to be a great series.
In game 7, I'm going to wrap it up quick because I know you got to go. In game 7, Boston ended with 85 points, which is their lowest point total in almost 2 years. Miami's going to make this series ugly. There's going to be a lot of fouls. They're going to go at Jokic on the defensive end. So you're going to see Miami attack the rim. They're not going to attack the rim to score. They're going to attack the rim to get Jokic into foul trouble because defense is his only weakness, okay? They're going to attack that rim. They're going to get Jokic in foul trouble. They're going to get him out of the game. That's going to put more defensive pressure on Aaron Gordon because Michael Porter Jr. isn't the greatest defender in the world either. So AG
is their premier defender.
Right. We've shot a lot of threes to get to this point, but now I think you're going to see Miami shift and just barrel to the basket. Jimmy's going to barrel to the basket. Tyler Hero, who should come back for game 3, is going to be barreling to the basket because we don't know how consistent that shot is going to be. But remember,
Do you even want that? Do you even want that if you're the Heat?
As a decoy, yes, because they're not looking to score. They're just looking for the contact. That's how Miami's going to win this series. We're going to limit Jokic defensively to get him out of the game. Watch what I say now. Bam is going to be running circles around Jokic to tire him out. So we have to do what other teams haven't done, which is attack Jokic. And I think we're smart enough to do that. Me and you are sitting here with 120 followers, not even making $1 million a year. And that's what I'm seeing in my head. If I'm Eric Spoelstra, if I'm Pat Riley, that's the game plan. For as great as Jokic is, attack him defensively. And I think that's what they're going to do. Because I
do think we'll see the Heat play them tougher than anybody else in the playoffs has so far. Yes, I do believe that.
So we're going to leave it with that. Bryce has Denver. I have the Heat, of course. We will see. Thank you guys for following us. Please like, subscribe, and share our content. Everyone stay safe, and we are out.